Hi, ladies and gentlemen, fellow traders. Welcome to another episode of Weekly Forex Outlook with Chart Engineering Pro. We really appreciate you for taking the time to watch this video, and we do not take you for granted at all. I also want to wish us all a happy new month, and I pray that this month shall be the best month we've yet seen all through this year. And I wish you the best and the very best of this month. And I pray we will be able to close this month very profitable and have a very fruitful and joyous Christmas celebration. If you haven't yet subscribed or you are new to this channel, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any content we post here. And if you also find value with what we share here, be sure to like, drop your comments, share your views, and share this video to your fellow traders or anyone who would find this information useful. Without wasting much time, let's have a quick recap of last week's setups discussed in our previous video before we dive into next week's analysis. So stay tuned. We have here gold. So last week we were anticipating that gold was going to break this possible neckline we had here. Gold broke it and then it gave us a retest, but the retest was very shallow, but we still managed to get an opportunity on this trade. So after price retested this neckline, it's created an inverse head and shoulder on the 2-hour time frame, and that's how we're able to confirm our entry for this trade. So as you can see, we have the inverse head and shoulder right here. So we got an entry on the neckline of the inverse head and shoulder, and we are currently in this trade. So we are going to hold it to the various TPs we have here. If the momentum is very strong, we might likely head towards the crab pattern PRZ, which is around the $4,700 per ounce. So let's be on the lookout for that. So as price moves up, we will see if we'll be privileged to get more entries to add up as price goes up to create a possible new all-time high. We have here GBPCAD, and so last week we had several scenarios, and we anticipated that price could react from this area of interest we have here, and price reacted here and gave us a 4-hour double top. So we took the entry at the neckline of the 4-hour double top, and we are currently in this position as well, and we are targeting this target at the bottom right here. So if you were not able to catch this, what you can do is you can also wait for price to break below these lows, come back for a retest, look for a selling opportunity around here, and then continue the sell to this point. So let's be on the lookout for this position as well. We also have here an Euro GBP. This trade was a missed trade. Price played out perfectly, but the confirmations was, we wanted extra confirmations to this trade before we could enter, but then as we can see, price made its way to the area of interest we anticipated it to get to, give us this 2-hour bearish engulfing candle. So this would have been our entry, but then due to how this particular pair messed us up in the previous week, we wanted extra confirmations before we could take up this trade, but then price just took off from there and kept dipping. It came back to wick the entry and then continued to the downside. So for the coming week, we'll be looking forward to a possible pullback into this zone or this area of interest we have here, a possible pullback around this area, and if we're able to get selling opportunities, we can take advantage of that to continue the sell to complete this target we're looking out for or we're anticipating from the previous week. This is GBP/JPY, and for GBP/JPY, as of last week, price had already tipped or had already tested the area of interest, so we're looking out for a possible deeper pullback or clearer confirmations to give us buying opportunities, but we didn't get those confirmations, and price actually moved and is almost heading towards the TP. So we actually also were not able to catch this trade for last week. So going into next week, we look forward to a possible pullback to this zone or this structural point we have here. Should we get any buying confirmations around this area, we can take this buy as well to the expected TP we had from the previous episode. So let's dive into the economic calendar for the coming week and see what we have. On Monday, we are going to have the Bank of Japan's governor speak, and later in the day, we're also going to have the ISM manufacturing PMI for the USD. On Tuesday, there's no high impact news on Tuesday. So Wednesday, we're going to have the GDP for AUD, and we're also going to have the CPI for CHF for the Swiss franc. On the same Wednesday, we're also going to have the ADP non-farm employment change and then the ISM services PMI. So let's look out for that for the USD on Wednesday. On Thursday, we're going to have the USD unemployment claims. On Friday, we're also going to have the unemployment change or unemployment rate for the Canadian dollar, which is literally like the NFP for CAD. So let's look out for that on Friday. And later, the same Friday, we're going to have the core PCE price index and the prelim consumer sentiment and inflation expectations for the USD. So let's dive into the charts and see what we have for the coming week. So this is DXY. This is DXY on a daily time frame. As of last week, we were anticipating that price was going to pull back to this area of interest to give us some buying confirmations to continue to the upside. Price has finally pulled back into the area of interest. So going into next week, we'll be looking out for possible reversal patterns within this zone or buying confirmations within this zone to the upside. So I'm dropping down to the 4-hour time frame. So what we have here is if you check the RSI or any momentum indicator, you realize that there's a divergence developing right here, and this could be a possible double bottom formation. So going into next week, we'll be anticipating a possible pullback, a possible 4-hour break of this structure. We're expecting price or a 4-hour candle to break above this structure, come for another retest, and then continue to the upside. This can only shift bearish if we get a daily candle close below this low, and then that's when we will be convinced that price has now shifted bearish on a daily perspective. But until then, we are still going to look out for the bullish side of things for the DXY, which means all XXX USD pairs will be looking out for buys, and all USD XXX pairs will be looking out for all XXX USD pairs will be looking out for sells, and all USD XXX pairs we're going to be looking out for buys. So let's move to the next pair. We have here Euro USD. So last week we anticipated that price was going to pull back to this area of interest. Price has made its way to that area of interest. So going into next week, we'll be looking out for a possible reversal pattern here. Should we get price to sell and break below this structural point, we're looking out for a possible pullback or lower high or possible right shoulder and continue the sell to the downside. If I go to the daily time frame, you realize that we have two rejection candles at a strong area of interest. So you can see we have these two rejection candles, which is showing signs of weakness of the bullish momentum. So going into next week, we might likely have the Monday candle give us an engulfing candle, possibly to break that 4-hour structure I identified just not long ago. So maybe that Monday's candle might give us an engulfing to break this 4-hour structure. Then we'll look out for a possible pullback to give us an entry to the downside. So we are still maintaining the previous targets we had from the previous episodes right here. So this is our first target, and the second target is around 1.12827. So we are still very bearish on Euro USD. We also have the GBP USD, and GBP USD also has a similar formation. We can see clearly two daily rejection candles in our area of interest. So going into next week, we'll be looking out for an engulfing candle which might also shift the structure we have here, the 4-hour structure we have here. So if we're able to get price to break, to sell hard, to break this 4-hour structure and come back for a pullback or a lower high, we'll be interested in looking for sales to the downside. So we are also still bearish on GU. So this is our first target, and then our second target is around 1.28330. So we are also still bearish for GBPUSD. This can only shift bullish if price is able to break above the zone and then continue to the upside. Until then, we are still very bearish on GBPUSD. We have here USDCHF. We had this setup from last week where we anticipated that price was going to make its way into this area of interest to give us buying opportunities to the upside. So we are currently in the very first area of interest. So going into next week, we're looking out for possible reversals within this zone, or should price pull back a bit deeper into the second zone, we'll still be interested in looking for the buys and taking it to the upside. So we're going to have the same targets we had from last week. This can only shift bearish if price is able to clear these lows and break with a daily candle, or close below these lows with a daily candle, come for a retest and sell to the downside to this particular target. Until then, we are still bullish for USDCHF. We have here NZDUSD. So NZDUSD currently is in an area of interest, just like the EURUSD and GBPUSD. So going into next week, we'll be looking out for possible reversals here, possible reversal patterns within this zone, this very first zone where price is currently, or should price move a bit higher to the second zone above, we'll still be interested in looking for the sells to the downside, and this can only shift bullish if price gives us something like this. If price pulls back to retest this structural point, or maybe this possible, or create a possible right shoulder and give us a momentum to the upside and break this particular structural high, daily structural high, and continues to the upside. This is a possible scenario you might have if price wants to shift bullish. Or the second bullish scenario would be price can just also break above, a daily candle can break and close above the structural high and shift the momentum entirely into the bullish sentiment. So let's be on the lookout. But we are currently bearish for NZDUSD, looking at our expectations we have on DXY. We have here EURCAD. So EURCAD, as of last week, we anticipated that price was going to pull back, was going to move into this zone above here and give us selling opportunities. So price actually reacted from that zone, and what we have here is a possible head and shoulder formation on a weekly perspective. It's not clean here, so let me go back to the daily time frame. So the head and shoulder we have forming here is, this is our left shoulder, this is the head, and the right shoulder has also developed another head and shoulder pattern. This is our right shoulder, a possible right shoulder. This is what we are looking out for. So what we are going to look out for now is that, as you can see clearly, we have another head and shoulder formation that has developed at the right shoulder of the bigger head and shoulder. So going into next week, we'll be looking out for these scenarios. Should price pull back into this zone, give us selling confirmations, we'll be interested in taking the sells from there. And if price also breaks below this major neckline for the bigger head and shoulder and comes for another retest, we're still going to look out for possible entries around here and continue the sell to the downside. And the second scenario is price can also continue breaking. Price can also continue selling to break this neckline. So if it's able to sell to break this neckline and comes for a retest, we'll look out for selling opportunities around here. Or should price pull back a bit higher after breaking this neckline into this zone, we'll still be interested in looking for the sells to the downside. So we are very, very, very bearish for EURCAD for now. This can only shift bullish if these highs get cleared by a daily candle closure. Until then, we are very bearish for EURCAD. We also have here NZDCAD, and NZDCAD currently is also in an area of interest, and we're looking out for selling opportunities to the downside. So going into next week, should we get a possible head and shoulder formation? This is the left shoulder, the possible head. Should we get price to clear this structural point, or 4-hour structural point, and comes for a pullback or a lower high formation? We'll be looking out for selling opportunities. Or should this form and we get a possible pullback to the neckline of the head and shoulder, we'll look out for selling opportunities to the downside. We're going to target this low we have here. And should price also form a possible double top formation in this zone we have here where price currently is, should we get a possible double top formation, the price can come, break the neckline, come for a retest, and we continue the sell to the downside. So we are very bearish on NZDCAD for the coming week. This can only be violated, or yes, it can be invalidated if price breaks above this zone with a daily candle, comes for a retest, and continues to the upside. Until then, we are very bearish on NZDCAD. This is EURNZD. So on a weekly perspective, EURNZD on a weekly and a monthly perspective is bullish, but the daily perspective is bearish. So going into next week, daily and the 4-hour is bearish. So going into next week, we'll be looking at a possible pullback into this area of interest. Look for selling opportunities to this target we have below, or this zone we have below. Should price pull back a bit higher to the zone above, the second zone above, we'll still be interested in looking out for selling opportunities to the downside. So we are very bearish on EURNZD for the coming week. This can only be invalidated if price breaks above or clears daily candle closes above the structural high, and then comes for another pullback and maybe continues to the upside. Until then, we are bearish on EURNZD. We also have here GBPNZD, and GBPNZD is also on a weekly perspective, GBPNZD is bearish. On a daily perspective, GBPNZD is also bearish. 4-hour is also bearish. So going into next week, it will be advisable or expedient of us to look for a possible pullback into this area of interest, the first one, and look for selling opportunities to the downside to complete this move. Should price pull back a bit higher into the second zone above, we'll still be interested in looking out for selling opportunities to the downside. And just like I explained concerning the NZD cash rates news and monetary policy news, if you can see from here, after that news was released, GBPNZD moved about over 150 pips within 15 minutes. So this was the news candle. So from here to here was about 179 pips within 15 minutes. So those kind of monetary policy news with those minor pairs, we should be very mindful of them. We should really look out for them. They are very, very, very volatile. So anytime we have such economic events, let's be careful with our positions. We have here CADCHF, and CADCHF is giving us a possible double bottom formation right here, and the neckline is now broken. So going into next week, we'll be looking out for a possible pullback into the neckline and look for possible buying opportunities to the upside into this zone we have above. So we're going to look out for bullish opportunities for CADCHF. Should price pull back a bit deeper to the zone below, we'll still be interested in looking for buys to the upside. This can only be invalidated if price breaks below the zone and continues to the downside. Until then, we are going to be on the bullish side for CADCHF. We also have here EURCHF, which is also bullish on a weekly perspective and bullish on a daily perspective. So going into next week, we are looking out for a possible pullback into this very first zone or the second zone below. We are going to look out for reversal patterns of bullish confirmations to look out for buys to the upside. This will be our very first TP. Our second TP is going to be the highs we have here. So we're also very bullish on EURCHF for now. And this can become bearish if price is able to sell and break these lows and continue to the downside. Until then, we are extremely bullish on EURCHF. So we have here silver. So for silver, we missed out on the move. Silver moved very fast last week, so we were unable to catch the entry for silver, just as we caught for gold. So going into next week, we'll be looking out for a possible pullback into this area of interest. Look for buying confirmations and we continue the buys to the upside. Should it miraculously drop a bit deeper to the second zone below, we'll still be interested in taking the buys to the upside. Until then, we are extremely bullish for silver. This can be invalidated if price comes all the way, clear this lows with a daily candle, clear this low with a daily candle. Until then, we are extremely bullish for silver for the coming week, and we are targeting this new all-time high at $60 per ounce for silver. We have here crude oil, UK oil or Brent crude oil. So we're looking out for this position. From last week, we were able to catch a very first entry on a lower risk. So we anticipated that price would pull back into this area of interest and give us selling opportunities. Price did that earlier in the week, give this engulfing and give this strong false move, and then later pulled back correctively into the zone. And as you can see, we have this evening star formation here, and then this was the engulfing candle that's gave us the confirmation, the very first confirmation to take the sell on a lower risk, and then the SL was above the area of interest. So going into next week, we have two options. Price might either, if we get for a 4-hour candle to break below this structural point, 4-hour structural point, and price comes for a pullback, or to give us a possible right shoulder or a possible lower high, we'll be interested in taking the sell to the downside. If we drop to the 2-hour time frame, we realize that price has actually formed a double top. So the 2-hour, 1 hour, I think 45 minutes, 3-hour, they're all giving us a double top formation right here. So price can also just instead of waiting for it to break the 4-hour structure, price can also just retest the neckline of this double top. Price can just retest the neckline of this neckline or come a bit deeper or a bit higher, and then give like maybe an engulfing candle on a lower time frame, maybe 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and confirm the sell to the downside. So we're also in this position at the moment. So we're going to look out for a possible re-entry, for which we might go in for, we might go in with our normal risk after that happens. So this is our first target, around $59.92 per barrel, and then the second target is $58.28 per barrel. So we are very bearish on Brent crude oil. This is S&P 500. So S&P 500 has now shifted bullish again. So weekly is bullish, daily is bullish, 4-hour is bullish. So all we're going to look out for is the bullish side for S&P 500. So we're going to wait or look out for a possible pullback to this area of interest. Look for buying opportunities to the upside and target this as our TP. You can also target this high, this very high, as your first TP, and then the second TP is going to be above right here. This can only be invalidated if price breaks below this zone and clears this for this daily structure here. If a daily candle closes below this structure, then we can consider this bearish. Until then, we are bullish for S&P 500. We have here NASDAQ, and NASDAQ has a similar setup just as we saw on S&P 500. So price, we're looking out for possible pullback into this area of interest to give us a buying opportunity to the upside. So we're also very bullish for NASDAQ for the coming week, or the US 100. Should price break below this zone, come for a retest, or break below this daily structural point, and then continue to the downside, and we'll consider this bearish. Until then, we are extremely bullish for NASDAQ. We also have here US 2000. It also has a similar setup just as the S&P 500 and then the NASDAQ. We're also going to look out for possible pullback into this area of interest, look for buying confirmations to the upside. If this plays out, it's developing a possible harmonic pattern, which is a butterfly pattern, and this is the pattern, possible pattern that might develop. So this is our X, this is our A, this is our B leg. So we're waiting for a possible C leg, then we'll continue the buy to the upside, which will be our D leg formation. So this is the possible harmonic pattern that is developing for Russell 2000 or the US 2000. So the last pair or index we have is the France 40 index or CAC 40 index. So going into next week, this is also giving us a possible harmonic pattern formation. So we're also going to look out for a possible pullback to this area of interest. Should price pull back a bit deeper into this zone to still be interested in looking for the buys as well. So wherever it gets to and starts giving us the confirmations, we'll be interested. So this will be our possible C leg area, and we'll continue the buys to the upside. This is the possible harmonic pattern that is developing around here. This is the X, this is the A. So the B is here to complete, or we're here to see where the B is going to land. So wherever the B lands, we'll look out for a possible pullback for the C leg. We'll continue to the upside. This is all we have for this week. Thank you so much for sticking through to the end of this video. I really appreciate you for taking our time to be here. I will entreat all of us, or encourage all of us, that we apply proper risk management to our trades, trade safe and sound, and may this week be fruitful and profitable for all of us. And I wish you a happy new month as well. Take care, and I'll catch you on another episode. Remember to subscribe, share this video, and like it, and drop your comments as well. Bye bye.